He's here, and Damian Starks, our fill-in commissioner for the third one who's in the hospital. It couldn't be here. He's a spray class, so it's just us, and this is just discussion anyway. If you want to start out, Roy, you can tell us. So Marion will have it on the paper, a little history about your firm and stuff.
Sure. It's Easily Associates Architects is who we are, and been in practice since around 1975. Done a lot of buildings since that time. A lot of projects in the outlet area, and a lot of things we're real proud of too. And we have this booklet that we sent over, and we have that information on these flash drives too that we can leave with you.
Okay.
And one for the other commissioner. But that's just a sampling of some of our projects. I know for your project, what we were looking at, of course, is what the requirements are for that. And we have a lot of experience with those also. We were the architects for a lot of repeat clients. One of which is Autry Technology Center, who had a culinary arts project, which was a full kitchen design for chefs and for a large production kitchen. And that was for different sizes, different functions. They hired us to do that and provided several different kitchen designs for them. Culinary arts, they were pretty special with that. Lots of school work, ALVA projects that we've worked on, lots of churches, the schools, we've worked on every school in the district. Northwestern OSU is our client. All the work they do is through with us, and we've provided services for them for many years and plan to do it for many more years. We do have current projects with them, so we're in ALVA a lot. As you know, Randy, we've got ongoing projects with them, and we've worked with the county in a lot of different functions, this building being one of them, where we provided the little bit of redesign on this building for the elevators and restroom areas a while back. We also provided new roofing for this building when it was having problems, and platforms for the HVAC and new HVAC units. We also provided the design for the performing arts, which is not really a project. It's something that one of your constituents is promoting, and we did that for him. I think that we have looked at your sites. The site on Choctaw looks perfect for what we're talking about. You've got the bus barn for the school over there, and the armory functions independently. You've got the whole eastern side of that site, which works great. Looks like it was an old ballpark. Has plenty of power there, has the water lines.
Sewer.
You have sewer, the fire lines, all the stuff you need there. I think we looked at it briefly, and we have a sketch of a starting point that we can show you. And the project in Winoka, we do a lot of work in Winoka too, have over the years. That particular building you're looking at in Winoka is one that we have worked on in the past. We looked at a building addition for that. A lot of projects in the Winoka area, and we also are doing the Santa Fe Depot currently in Winoka. So this area also, Burlington Schools is one of our projects that we just finished in the area. Had good success with it, good builders, good local builders helped us with that. I think that our work range, we have worked from Texas to South Dakota, and California to the Carolinas, but we try to stay in Oklahoma, and our primary area is northwest Oklahoma.
There's no question you're highly qualified for it and stuff, but let me just start out on our side with some of the obstacles we're up against.
Sure.
Okay. First off, we've been forever getting permission or getting the deal made with the city of Dallas. But we're gonna use ARPA funds, and we have to have those appropriated is what it says in it, but essentially is encumbered by the end of the year. And this thing has been that long getting through the city council to do it, so we're up against the deadline.
Yeah, and I understand that, and we work with those deadlines.
Well,
Serious
I
deadlines,
just
but-
want that to be clear right off the get-go, because I've been checking, and there's gonna be, I've been checking if we're the only county. I know we're not the only county, because Oklahoma County's up against it with their jail, with the same scenario. So, but I haven't found anybody about extensions or whatever, you know, is what I've been hunting. And
Sure.
we got 2 years to complete. I was screwed up on that. I thought we had to have it spent by January of 26, but it's end of December of 26
I see.
to have it spent. But we gotta have it encumbered, that's what I'm gonna call it, in other words, bid and you know, have an amount.
Well, that's not a problem for us.
Okay, let's,
If we are on board, we're starting immediately.
okay,
We've already started
Okay.
looking at the site and working with what you have there to see what we have to do. I don't see any obstacles. You know, we'd love time, of course, but
Yeah.
we understand your restrictions.
well,
And-
and they have increased, I don't know what, if you've looked at the small drawing we had.
I don't see your.
Well, it was a 60 by 40 metal building, just a rectangle, which I'd like to keep it that way, just a but the seniors have allowed how that's to be 2,400 square foot, and they're wanting between 3 and 4. So,
Yeah.
I mean, my thought on that is we just make that rectangular building bigger.
Right.
You know,
Well, it's
80 by 50, get 4,000 or something, you know. I want to keep it simple
sure.
as that.
Well, I think that we work on the senior center in Woodward, and it started at about 3,500 to 4,000 square feet and grew to twice that. But they did a lot of multi-purpose type stuff. And I think that the size of your building here is going to depend on what you want to do inside the building, and how many people and how many people you're serving with the nutrition.
Well, it's continues to decrease. And the last real count I had, they were serving like 125 meals a day, but I don't know if that included what they were delivering. I'm just not. Yeah, and I know that it's kind of went down, but they've got one building over there that they use, and then there's another gutted building beside it that they use for storage. But we'll have to have all that involved, but I mean, it'll be pretty simple, just handicap bathrooms, maybe one office, storage room. And it's debatable. They've got a walk-in freezer, whether that needs to be inside or out with just a walkway to it covered, you know. That's kind of what happened to them. Woodward gave them this walk-in freezer, and and they put it inside, but their real drawback was they put the equipment on top, and they put it on top of an old wooden beam, which is what was there for a flat roof before, and it cracked that beam.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so, and there's weather damage on those beams, and we've worked for, ever since I've been commissioner, dealt with leaks on that old flat roof.
Yeah.
And time we put a new roof on that, we'll have probably close to the same amount of money in it as we did in a new building, and you still have an old building with a new roof.
Yeah, sure. Well, you've got, FM Erickson here in Alva does a good pre-engineered building, and we've worked with them a lot in the past. They move very quickly and can help you with the speed on the project.
Well, he's the one that drew up the first little drawing, the 40 by 60. But he just did it, he thought that was the square footage of the building they were in, but that was without the storage.
You want me to go upstairs and see if I can find?
Yeah, if you don't mind, but I mean, that's, they came in and I don't know, I have had no experience, but it's my, well, I know this is a fact, that the nutrition center, which is a separate entity, but is within that, which they only have one in each county, but Alva has the authorized nutrition center, which is funded by the state, and they also put the equipment in. They furnish the equipment.
Good.
And is my understanding, but I don't know what they're going to tell us if any of this has to be reused. I don't know how they're going to handle that.
Sure. We can work it both ways.
Yeah,
We just
well,
want them to move.
It'll be whatever the state tells us. If we can go new or some of that is usable, I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter. It'll be the same deal. The kitchen's going to have to be acceptable, and they do even have. They have a different inspector for those senior citizens than they do restaurants.
We're used to working with them. We work with them on a lot of stuff. And we always submit to them. But they can be a time sink. I mean, we have to move quickly to get their approval.
Yeah.
And your nutrition people would have to get their approval pretty quickly too, so we can move forward to get the end.
Do the nutrition people have a say in this?
I think they do. I know they can reject what we provide.
Really?
So we like working with them to make sure that they're happy with what we're coming up with.
Okay. Well, I wasn't sure if they had a say because they change.
Yeah.
Because the state contracts them out.
Well, they have, if it's not downright legal moves, then it's influence for sure with the health department.
I just figured that inspector would be the end go-to, and the nutrition center, because they're just a contract entity that they would just have to deal with. If it met the inspector's deal, then
they can influence the inspector or the approver. The other agency is Alva had its own code office for many years. I assume it still does.
Yes.
It's got a good fire marshal. So hopefully we can just stay in Alva with that approval. The authority of jurisdiction stays in Alva. Then we don't get any time loss from there.
right.
With all that in mind, we can provide what you're needing by the time limit that you've got. But we need to know who we'd be working with and who has input and all that stuff, because we would want to start immediately with them.
Gotcha. Well, that's yet to be determined. I mean, besides the commissioners.
Sure. And that's fine.
I think everybody will be on the same page here, and you know, that, the Winoka deal, that's just that's a remodel or down there.
Just the space.
Yes, and no, sir, they don't, we talked about it, don't need a hood, I don't think.
You have a warming kitchen in there, and not really even have a stove.
Just everything on
To
tabletop.
keep it from having a hood, and sprinklers or any of that shit, you know.
And it's just gonna be part of the building. And
Yeah, we may have, depending on how many people it's serving, we may have to separate that. And you can separate it with a firewall.
And, I think, John, correct me if I'm wrong, there's just walls in there, just bare studs.
Yeah, they stripped all the sheet rock insulation out. It got wet, and they went in there and cleaned all that asbestos and treated the studs.
Good. That'd be straightforward, especially without a kitchen. Restrooms, of course, have to be ADA. I think we'll do some stuff there. But, and I assume it's still got good parking.
Well, I'll worry about that. There's some trees that need taken out, some shrubs, and need to make a better parking, sidewalk, you know, for handicapped older folk, you know, but I can handle that, part of that.
Good. Well, I think Winoka has its own code office too. They use it.
Yeah.
They contracted. And
Yeah.
what we thought, or this was the thought I had, because I found out they contracted him, this guy, and I did have a name, I probably do him.
It's Craig Higley, I think.
Probably that. And we was thinking about making him like the general contractor or the, whatever you want to call the guy to oversee it. And I've asked about our city inspector here doing that for us. And I don't know as he's got a straight answer yet. I think that Brian Parker, not Parker, Miller, that talked about, told him that he would do it. I don't really care, but somebody from here, and I'm just thinking the inspector.
Fire marshal, so.
Yeah.
That
Brian will for sure.
The inspectors, they might as well be doing that. They're gonna have to be there looking at everything, the plumbing, the wiring, and all of that, is my thought. And I just soon keep all this work we can low.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think, there are some people in town that do that work, people in that area. We've been, like I say, we had good success in Burlington with local people, and there's a good builder there. So yeah, I'm on board with that.
Yeah, that's pretty much our take on it. And, I don't know, you tell me, or us, is there any option you see that's better than a steel building?
Well, they all have their advantages, they all have their disadvantages. We work a lot with metal buildings. The one thing that I would suggest, the main thing I would suggest, is that you get a standing seam metal roof on a metal building. And that locks your seams in, so you don't have any exposed fasteners. You don't rely on sealants or anything like that.
The single seam, is that what you're
Standing
talking
seam.
about? Okay.
It's
Yeah.
a machine seam that crimps it all together.
No, you don't see any screws.
No screws.
Okay.
Down around the bottom you would, but in the field of the roofing, we would not.
We put one on our house, and the only, there wasn't even screws there. There's screws under the seams, but they pop rooted everything around the bottom.
Sorry about that. I was here, it's
This
back
is-
there.
This is, FM did draw that up,
Yeah.
and I
They
think,
had about 1,500 feet to it,
Yeah.
so.
I
and
think that would.
we like that. This would be, or the way I envisioned it, that's north.
Yeah, right.
And this is the part that faces Choctaw.
Mhm.
Second Street is running over here.
So if we get roll over the plan, we have something very similar to that. And, because we started looking at it, because we knew we were in time crunch. But it's kind of the same basic approach, just not knowing the exact building size. But you see how big that building is compared to the property size. You've got a lot of property there that you can use for a lot of different things. But the building itself is,
Yeah.
Yeah, we figured the red was the 60 by 40 that you listed, but we figured you'd want it bigger in the future, so we showed 40 by 40 added, so bumped it up from the 2,600 to the 4,000.
it kind of depends on the floor plan for the configuration, because I'm sure you'll have a meeting room or a multi-purpose room.
Well, what they're used to over here, and it can maybe be changed a little bit to accommodate, make it easier for the plumbing or whatever, I don't know, but I'm diehard, I grew up with plumber's son and been around this stuff, and to keep all that, but basically, essentially, this end back here would be, the way it is over there is essentially the kitchen, the office, the restrooms, the storage, and what have you, and then this was open to this end. And this thing, essentially, it would set over there like that. and you had the main entrance to Choctaw
Mhm.
and stuff there. So, yeah, we're all on the same page.
You like it there in that spot like that?
That's where we've been figuring, yeah.
You can move it up towards Choctaw closer and put parking behind the building or to the side of the building.
That looks fine to me.
That depends on how many people, how many parking places. But that just kind of shows the basic size of it.
I mean, this, to me, I guess, the only thing I have is this is a little closer together than I was
No, we
thinking.
just made assumptions on the property. We'd have it surveyed and we'd get that more
Okay.
Oh,
set
they
in
got
stone.
doors in here that they drive in there, or?
They've got some big buses.
No, they park there. I think that each side of that armory is all closed. They drive in
They
from
drive
the
in that one.
both east,
Oh.
I mean, west to east and south to north, those the doors to the armory. And that'll help. This stays trashed up a lot back there. They got stuff there.
Which even with this guesstimate, that's about 40, 45 feet between the.
The only thing
that
I
line and that
The
building.
only reason I'm curious about that, it's more, I don't know how they get their food delivered.
Mhm.
Right.
If it comes
It
in,
comes with a big truck, I'm pretty sure. It came down
Yeah,
that
yeah.
alley, it came
Yeah,
down the
I'm-
alley down there and.
If your
Yeah.
kitchen is on the east side, if I heard you right, then you can,
yes, here, yes, down here, it's running north and south, and the kitchen and stuff is all on the kitchen office, that walk-in freezer is all on the south end, next to that. There's an alley down here behind the existing.
yeah, I think back to the cooler, I think it can work either way. If you put it inside the building, then you're increasing your square footage by the size of the cooler, or you're losing that much square footage. If you put it outside, if it's made to be outside, we've worked with those too. And,
I think this one could be either one. You just give up something in the heat in the summertime, but gain quite a bit back on the cold in the wintertime.
Does that show their little drive up? Kind of like what we
Well,
have.
this is the front entrance. I don't know if they have anything pictured
Yeah, we
on
didn't
there.
show a canopy. We hadn't seen
Where
that.
the-
He had kind of what his plans was a circle drive to go that front door and be out of the weather there.
Picking their food.
Not really a parking there.
that's what we would.
You know, I like that. The only thing I felt like could be added to this one on the west side, where he had a walk-in door on the west side, put the top or a canopy, whatever you, out there for a shaded area, and then big concrete along there for him to set outside. You
Yeah, I
know,
think
have the
so.
whole thing, or a pretty big area. They could keep chairs and stuff in there out of the weather where they could be outside. It's a pretty cool place down there. They'd have a whole half a block here if they wanted to get out and walk. Or,
Yeah, well, the armory too is a beautiful building, beautiful old building, a lot of nice detail.
yeah,
And I think that you can make some separation there with a fence or a wall or some landscaping.
but that main part is that truck, the delivery deal, I'm not sure where.
I think on the east side, if your kitchen is on the east side, we'd use the street.
Okay,
And possibly
next
back
to Second Street.
somewhere where they can back into it. The cooler would probably be better on that east side than the west side. So I think that makes sense that your utility stuff is gonna be on the east side.
Yeah, I had that in mind. I mean, I didn't know whether the walk-in freezer need to go north or east or, I was more leaning towards the north, which, because of just the view, the view.
Put it back behind the building.
Yeah,
It's easy to move if you have to. If you have future expansion, you're gonna go to the north probably. And the cooler, if it's there, can be moved pretty easily. The other thing to think about is that with a pre-engineered metal building, you really don't like using rooftop package units. You don't like penetrating
Yeah,
the roof with
no.
metal. So they'll probably go to either a split system or the ground or geothermal or something like that.
the vent hood is the only thing.
Vent hood is best. You may have to go out the roof, which we can do, or you might be able to go out an end wall. In this scenario, depending on how the kitchen layout is, it can go out the end wall. And we've done that. We actually did that recently in Watauga. The thing about the hood is what it is, but then you've got the makeup air that you have to provide. And you may want a reheat system, so you're not just dumping conditioned air outside. Different things like that have to be considered and talked about. As soon as, I mean, for us to get started, as soon as we need, one of the quickest things would be the kitchen equipment that would be provided or not provided.
Let me ask you this, do we need to do it? I know the first thing that needs to be done, period, is that phase 1 environmental being here on an old military site. I grew up down here and I don't remember him doing much of, you know, there wasn't much activity with
It's fair there would be a ferry tank or something,
yeah.
if they had any ferry tanks or disposal stuff.
Yeah, but I've been cautioned that we needed to do that the first thing. And so, and that's, would you guys handle that, or do we need to get that person, that civil engineer or whatever?
No,
It'd be a firm, I know, I don't know if they'd be an engineer, but that comes in and bores those holes and.
We do handle, that's not covered in the architectural expense usually. It can be as a reimbursable, but we coordinate that and we get them out there and show them what to do. That is the first thing. If you find something dirty there, that.
Well, that's my whole point. I mean, we may be back to square one.
Right.
If we don't get that done before.
That should probably be done right now. And,
Yeah.
And get those guys scheduled because they book up. There's several companies that we work with to do that.
Okay, well, here's the deal. I'm pretty certain, or I'm in favor of Monday, we're gonna make a decision.
Definitely.
So,
Good.
we aren't,
Well, we'll start working.
we aren't days away, you know,
We'll start working Tuesday.
and, okay?
And the first things, of course, would be knowing who to meet with to find the specific requirements and the kitchen equipment. And then we'll need to go to Winoka and get in the building and see how that's going to be affected.
Yeah,
And then we'll want to talk with the authorities of jurisdiction. I think that the plan approval, we try to do our planning very quickly. And then we can either email back and forth or run out to see whoever's going to be the approving authority, whether it's the commissioners or whoever you appoint.
well, for the time being, I think it'd just be commissioners, and we just take it up in an open meeting and go from there, on every Monday.
Well, I think if we're going to try to serve 100 or less people with the kitchen, that's no problem. That's not going to be an issue to get it going pretty quickly.
Okay,
And the things that I thought about and things that you may want to include would be pool table areas.
well, that's what, they've got that stuff out here in this open area. They use it for a portion of it down here for the dining, for their tables and stuff that's set up. Then the front part that's looks out toward Barn Street here is where they play dominoes and a pool table. And I don't know if the pool table's still in there, but there was one.
There was one, and then they,
Up front there.
they put puzzles together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of their
Sometimes they'll do
socializing.
Yes.
And
And they
the
like
arts
to-
and crafts.
Yeah, and it seems like they like to all be, where they can all visit, so they just like to be out in that open area.
So everybody kind of working in that general area.
Mhm.
And then, of course, the kitchen stuff in the kitchen office and see how they prefer the serving, whether it's a serving line, which I assume is the best, quickest,
Yeah.
and the most efficient. And then if there are any other specific space requirements that need to be handled. But I think we can help with that very quickly. We can start with plans to get the conversation going and see what's good and what's not good. And the existing senior citizen center, how much input do they?
Well, we want to make them happy, but we're footing the bill.
Right.
That's all I got to say about that.
So they can look at the plan and say, oh,
Yeah.
yes or no.
Yes. Well, they're the ones that came in and said this wasn't big enough.
Yeah.
Okay, that's, because I asked them, I said, I want your input on
Yeah,
that.
we can.
I would agree with that.
But kind of limited, you know.
That's pretty tight.
I
I
mean,
understand.
there's always the wants list and the needs list.
Yeah.
On everything.
Yeah.
And then you've got to think about the money too. I mean, that usually drives the train. And we'll need to establish what.
So,
We're thinking of money, they're thinking of the train. But we'll make it all work.
yeah, so, how do you guys charge?
We generally charge a percentage fee, and the way that we work, we start in with the design. We get it the way you want it, and then after we get to that point, then we start in with the working drawings. So the working drawings will be all the engineering, all the calculation, all the details and all that stuff. And then we go into contracting. We find the contractors who would be interested in working, and we have them, and I would always recommend the general contract arrangement. It's faster, there's no hidden charges, and you get the price you're gonna pay at the beginning and at the end. And then bid it with general contractors. After the general contractors submit their bids, we write the contracts. We don't want to get in your way. If you want to, you do it. But if not, we take care of the contracts. We take care of the bond requirements, all that stuff. And then we give them the notice to proceed when you're ready. And then they start work. And then we oversee the construction and the materials, every stick and every stone that goes through the building comes to us first. We approve it and send it back to them. And then we watch the construction. We make sure you're getting what's in the plans, that you're getting what's paid for. We're real heavy on the construction period because the contractors need a lot of support, and we want it to go fast. So our fee is 7% of the construction cost. That includes all the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, architectural, structural. It does not include civil engineering, but we don't anticipate a heavy civil engineering thing on this property. The property is pretty flat. We will need to build it up, and we will want to get some grade shot. That we don't really need a civil engineer for that, but we do need to get a surveyor out to shoot some grades. At the same time, you can establish your property boundaries if you want to. I think for this project, you're not going to have to.
On that survey part, to just shoot grades and stuff, what about using our CED?
Use it what?
The circuit engineering district
Oh,
out
yeah,
here, they
sure.
got
They can do that.
Yeah, I mean, is that adequate for you?
elevations and
Oh, yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah, that's perfect. All we need are the grades so we can see where the water goes now, where it'll go when we're finished, and how much we're displacing.
Okay.
I think, does the county use Myers Engineering?
We haven't used anybody.
Okay, well, if there are any requirements for hydrology studies
Well, the CED, we have engineers on staff
that do that.
for these road and bridge projects,
Yeah.
essentially saying,
Well, that saves time and money,
Yeah.
and we can work with that. We would want to get that pretty quickly because that sets the site, the parking, all of that.
well, we can get that done, but I mean, that's one reason we don't, they are our engineer.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And the other thing would be to do a geotech study, which is making sure we're not sitting on an old salvage yard or making sure
Well,
that the ground is
that's,
supported.
won't that come with that phase one?
Phase one is not the pouring for the soil bearing.
Oh, okay, I thought it was, but
It's-
that's what we need.
Phase one is the environmental, but the geotech will come from somebody like Standard or Burgess
Yeah.
or PSI. And they'll come out and bore it and test the soil for what the capacity.
Well, do they call that phase two, that environmental?
It's not an environmental.
Oh, okay.
It's
not.
so we know the bearing pressures.
Yeah, there's the
With a
quality.
pre-engineered building, you'll find that most of your forces on pre-engineered building are wind rather than weight. And it's pretty straightforward. So we may find that you have 2,000 pounds full. That's what it's for. So we know what the foundation has to do.
But like, we can build a pad for the building,
Yeah.
and CED will, they have proctors, and then come do compaction tests
Yeah.
and stuff.
Anything you
Right
can
here.
do like that
Yeah.
will help save money for the
Yeah.
project. we will want to identify it going into the bids. And I can tell you that on your choices, and I'm sure you've thought about this, but between construction management and general contract, we'll always recommend general contract on projects that are straightforward, unless you've got multiple complex things. There's no reason to go CM. CM and GC both require bidding by state law, and they both require bonding. So you're not really saving anything with CM, except you can hire the CM person that you want to. You still have to bid it to all the subcontracts and materials.
Yeah, that CM is what I was hunting for before, is just a contact person for you guys, and once the construction starts.
Yeah, the way that we like to see it work is that the general contractor has a contract to build everything that we put on the plans.
Okay.
And if he says, oh, I didn't figure that, then we're sorry, but it's in the contract, you have to do it. CM is a little different than that. They can always say, we didn't include that. And, of course, the answer is, well, then you don't have to provide it. The GC has a superintendent generally on site. We require a superintendent on site. And that person is the person that's kind of overseeing all the work the subcontractors do. And we generally come on site and talk to him. We'll talk about everything.
Okay.
But the superintendent should have full knowledge of everything going on site. And then his project manager in the office also has the information. But that's a good system, and it's a good pecking order, and it's worked like that for years. The CM is a little bit different and a little bit looser.
All I was getting at was somebody, I mean, the commissioners, I feel like, take it to the starting point.
Right. Yeah.
And then after that, yeah.
We gotta go to the guy.
We don't have time to, whether I'm here or not, they don't have time to go oversee that, and maybe not knowledge.
And that's our
Yeah.
job, really. We work with the contractor to make sure it's right. You can hire somebody, I mean, your guys can oversee, be the owner's rep, but there's not a lot of requirements for that person,
Okay.
other than just being the person that we might give information to. Like we would report to you all or to that person maybe you designate. And I think that it's a pretty straightforward process. And we also require all the contractors to provide a 1-year warranty, some more, some, but nothing less. And we're there during the warranty period too. Mechanical equipment has a little bit longer warranty.
Right.
So,
Okay.
but there's a lot of questions that need to be answered initially, and we would like to move quickly.
Okay.
As far as getting a plan ready by the time you have to have it encumbered, the design plans can be done, like I said, very quickly. It's a fairly straightforward project. If we get all those answers, then we can incorporate into it, then we can do the details, the specs, have all that ready so that you can bid it. 21 days is required by state, well, actually 20 by state law.
Right.
And then you need to allow time for contracting. So somewhere in that 3 to 4 week period, you've got to have it encumbered by the end of the year, before the end of the year, to meet your schedule. That means finish in November and bid in December, and the last week of December probably is your contract period.
Right.
Maybe a little sooner than that if
That
things
would be
move.
nice.
Yeah.
We'd have to move quicker on the front end though, and that means getting
Right.
some answers.
Exactly. Right.
Well, I'd like to not have to worry about an extension deal, but like I say,
Well,
Oklahoma County's up against it too.
I don't think we'll have that problem. I don't think we'll have an issue.
Well, okay, that's
As
the
long as
thing.
we get all of our
It-
general
it's-
contractors and get all of our environmental,
Yeah.
get all that
Yeah.
ahead of you, then you can keep it.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's it. We or you need to order the environmental now, or at least talk to
Yeah.
the person. And they're the ones that can.
And Donnie probably could do that.
too, because we do that.
The part we need is the part where it's bored, where we know there's nothing under there
Yeah.
that come back to bite us, because what'll happen on that, and these guys, what'll happen is if there can be some buried stuff under there, and you can build on top of it, but you can't have people in there.
Yeah.
The numbers
Right.
are restricted.
And you may find that they had target practice there. You may find that they had lead casings. That there's-
Yes, that's what I'm getting at. That's
That's
what
all we
needs
got
to
right
be
now.
the first step, which, whatever it's called, I was thinking phase one, but whatever it's called, we need to know what's under there.
It's phase one of the environmental. If there's suspect, then it goes to phase
What's
two.
under there, what's been there,
Yeah.
and what's gonna be there.
Yeah.
But it's all connected to the corporation commission. And they tell you who's licensed to do it, who's
But I made a huge fill up there at the museum, and I knew when I was just doing what they asked. And it was 100 and some foot long, and on the one end, we had to come up 5.5 foot with fills.
not. Yeah.
Well, when we were packing it, we were getting a compaction test, but it was all free gratis by the county. I mean, we were just doing it to help them out. And then come to find out, and I knew we had to quit running the vibrator on our vibrator packer because the windows were coming out of the house across the street. So, and I was pretty certain that was all fill. Well, at the end of the day, they wouldn't allow that addition to be used for gatherings and stuff like that over a certain amount of people
Sure.
in there.
Yeah, we run into the same thing at the university. They took over the old armory, and they found lead in there, and that had to be dealt with.
Okay.
But it was dealt with, and now it's fine.
Okay.
But yeah, we'd like to do it quickly. We have to do it quickly.
Yeah, yes.
That,
Well, like I said, we've been pushing for this and trying to, once we came up with that site, we thought it was good for everybody.
Well, I think that if you can go ahead and release your guys to shoot the grades, and I would suggest you go out to both sides of the street on both directions.
Yeah.
Make sure that you know where the water's going, where it's gone in the past, and all that.
Get you guys some elevations and stuff.
And
Do that right away because
Yeah.
whatever their schedule is. And then also the environmental needs to be ordered now, and the soil testing, the boring test.
Yeah.
And because those people, they're not just sitting there waiting for a phone call. They want to get on their schedule. Anything we can do to help, we will.
Okay.
And all that coordination on all those other people that's not included in the fee, we'll do that anyway. We'll coordinate that.
Okay. Well, you know our side of the deal. Everything sounds like you're aware of that and willing to deal with that. So, right at the moment, I don't have any more. You got anything else, John?
it sounds all good to me.
Shane, can you think of anything?
Nope.
Good.
Okay.
I would like to talk to you sometime about the Northwestern deal.
Okay.
And we have some planning to do real quickly, and we have to do that right away. So whatever we can do to help you.
Okay. Well, if nobody's got anything else, I guess I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
All right. We're done.